Today I'm going to be showing you my aerial shelter. So this has been a build for most of the day, and this is about as far as we've gotten. This is a 4-post aerial shelter, so it uses 4 different trees, and we have so far lined it with a whole bunch of trees, and we are currently filling the top of it with different things such as birch bark and pine boughs. And I will show you guys more. Still from mid-construction, so it does look a little bit weird, but this is so far what it looks like from being up here. And I do apologize for not bringing you guys along on more of this build. It was really more experimental to see if this could even be achieved, and so far it's working quite well. That's what it looks like behind me. And overall, this is the shelter. Now, this is only about 5 feet off the ground, and I really didn't want to build this too high up because this is the first aerial shelter we've ever built, and I wasn't sure how stable it would be. As I mentioned, this is very experimental, so I wasn't sure how stable this would be, but so far it is quite stable. Obviously, I have my weight plus a couple tools up here, so this is what it looks like I said, so far. We're going to be using actually a mixture of peeled birch bark as well as pine boughs to cover this, and so far it is, like I said, quite supported, especially once you actually sit down. It's a little bit hard right now to stand up because there's quite a few gaps, but I am hoping to cover those with more birch bark. Guys, just wanted to do a quick video kind of showing you guys this aerial build. I've wanted to build aerial shelters for a very long time, really ever since I started bushcrafting. So to actually build an aerial shelter has been really awesome. In case you guys were not too observant, is the way up. So far we plan to actually put a smaller ladder up here, but for now, because like I said, this is very experimental, we're just using a curved branch that comes up, and you put your foot there and essentially just climb up on. So anyways guys, I'm probably just going to roll pictures for the rest of this time. I may do more videos, but if not, enjoy the pictures that come after, and don't forget to comment, like, share, subscribe, and definitely tell me what you guys think of this aerial shelter. I really like aerial shelters. Like I said, they have been something that I've always wanted to do because I always love being up in the air. But yeah, definitely tell me what you guys think, and I can't wait to make more videos up on this shelter. Anyways guys, that's it for now, and I'm out. Today I just want to do part 2. This is, of course, another day, if you couldn't already tell by the lighting and everything. And I just wanted to kind of do a follow-up of the shelter, show you guys how it's changed. My friend and I added a lot more spruce boughs, and that was pretty important because on the original build, we put just different slats of running birch trees, so it was not completely like a deck, so these little branches help hold your feet and from falling through the cracks. And now you guys can see, hopefully, that it's pretty solid, and there's a whole bunch of small branches around to help prevent from anything happening. Like I originally mentioned, we did set on some of the pieces to kind of try out birch bark. We skinned some dead birch bark trees and got some pretty nice, almost shingles, if you will, to set on the bottom of it. And overall, this is the shelter. We still do not have a roof, as you guys can probably tell, but we are thinking about working on a roof. I just wanted to kind of show you guys part 2, how it's holding up. I am so far still really loving this shelter. Like I mentioned in the first video, it had always been like my dream to have some kind of aerial shelter, and that still holds very true today. Still loving it, and actually really want to get back out here and do a follow-up video for you guys, show you the shelter. And as you guys can see, there are some pretty good spots for gear, and show my gear right here because this still is partially covered due to this spruce tree that we built this part off of. This is partially covered, so you guys can see you can throw your gear up here and hop up. Also, hopefully you guys liked that hop up from our impromptu entrance kind of ladder thing. We are going to work probably on a smaller ladder for this shelter, but for the time being, it was just a quick impromptu way to get up on the shelter. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. This is pretty much going to close it out for this aerial shelter build. Until I do, probably I'll do a part 2 showing the kind of roofing system we decide on going with. But other than that, that pretty much closes out. And don't forget to share your thoughts on what you'd like to see for this aerial shelter. Of course, like with all my builds, I love working with the ideas that you guys give, especially when they're really awesome ideas. So please don't forget to comment, tell me what you guys think of the shelter and what you think should be improved for the shelter overall. And yeah, that's about it. And definitely let me know if you guys want to see more of the construction of this thing and show you guys how exactly it was built. It was pretty simple, just 4, corners, and then as you guys can see, sticking out a whole bunch of around I think 10 smaller, more springy, as I think you guys can see here, more springy. As far as the shelter goes, or as far as the construction goes rather, it was pretty simple. We just made 2 runners, this long piece here sticking out, going to that piece, and the same on the back side. And then we laid 2 longer runners running like that, and of course on that side running that way. And then of course I think you guys can see there, we put a whole bunch of different, I think around 10 more springy, hopefully you guys can see this, more springy birch trees, and that really helps the shelter to be able to change as the trees move and shake. And it also helps people who are up here to be a little bit more comfortable because the shelter actually has some give in it. And so it's more like the ground, because the ground of course is soft. So I do not want to build an extremely rigid shelter. That could hurt. There is some spring in it, and like I said, hopefully you guys can see that. But anyways, hopefully you've enjoyed that. I'll actually try and stand up here for you guys, see what it looks like. And as I mentioned, I think in the first part of this video, we did only build this 5 feet off the ground, but even that, it still feels pretty high up off the ground. And we did that primarily because this is the first aerial shelter we've ever built, and especially I've ever built. So I didn't exactly know how well this system was going to hold up, but it seems to be doing quite well. I haven't seen any change in the major laterals, major structural pieces. I haven't noticed any change. You will note this is slightly slanted, but out here in the woods, you're never really going to find 4 perfectly symmetrical pieces, symmetrical alignment of 4 trees. So it is certainly crooked, but overall pretty good. You guys enjoyed that. Sorry I didn't take you guys on the build of this. I wasn't exactly sure how well this shelter was even going to be, or if this was even going to be a shelter. I wasn't sure if it was going to fail or what have you. So I did not take you guys along on the build just because it was highly experimental. But hopefully you guys enjoyed that, and now that this one is a success, I'm probably going to leave it up, but I am planning on, and this is more in the future, probably next spring at the earliest, but building a higher up shelter, maybe something that's around 10 feet. That branch right there is about 10 feet high. Now that we know that this system does in fact actually work, and we should be able to, should be pretty easy because wherever we're going to build it next, we already have the 10-foot rope ladder out here. So essentially all we have to do is just move that rope ladder to the position that we need to in order to string up trees and do stuff like that. So there very well may be a 10-foot shelter coming. I don't know about that fully. It may be like 9 or 8 feet because 10 feet is pretty high, but something around that semi-higher level will be eventually coming. It would be awesome to have something like a tree house out here, and that's kind of what in the end I'm going for. Guys, hopefully you've enjoyed this shelter. Sorry about these two videos being a little bit different from what I usually do. Don't forget to comment, like, share, subscribe, and like I said, tell me what your thoughts are on this aerial platform.